So Drew and I are excited to talk about some of our predictions in 2026. But before we talk about that, I just want to first say that we hope everyone enjoyed their holidays and had a safe holiday. Drew and I, of course, were able to celebrate together, and then I was able to celebrate with my in-laws just down the street. Drew did make it to Raleigh or Durham to celebrate with my brother too. So it was a multiple Christmas family.
Always in multiple places. It's Christmas three times in three different places.
Yeah, it was a lot, but it was
I talked to
fun.
somebody today who, Kristen Farr, who said she just finished it yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. We took down some Christmas decorations and stuff like that. So we just wanted to say we hope everyone had a great holiday. And so the first thing that we're going to do that we did last year actually in 2025 is make predictions for 2026. I do feel very fortunate that Drew is a great he's very studious when it comes to reading the Wall Street Journal, reading the Barron, staying informed, and those types of things. And so it's definitely made an impact on my interest as well of predicting markets and just keeping up to date on financial news. And so, of course, the one thing that mortgage lenders always want to talk about and make a prediction, and a lot of consumers are talking about it, of course, as well, is what are rates going to be doing in 2026. And I just think it's worth, taking a few minutes here to kind of recognize, where we've been in 2025. You know, 12 months ago, rates were roughly around 6.75 to 7%. You'll see in the newsletter in the, readable version that, you know, we predicted that in June rates would improve, and it really didn't happen until the end of June where we started getting closer to that 6.75% and lower. And so around June, really to August, rates improved to where they are kind of currently now, which is roughly for a primary home rate is between 6% and six and a quarter with 5 to 25% down. Do you want to have anything
And
to
that's with no
add there, Drew?
points. There's
Yeah.
no points on that, and you certainly you could pay points. I did have a customer pay 3 points on a loan, and I was able to lock their rate at five and a quarter. If you're going to have a loan for a really long time, or you can get the seller to pay your closing costs, something Alex and I think is a really good idea, and the seller was paying these 3 points, then it makes a lot of sense. It wasn't coming out of the customer's pocket really, and he got five and a quarter. Five and a quarter, pretty exciting rate, but again,
Yeah.
it cost 3 points.
And I think, the 10-year is also, an indicator of rates, the 10-year treasury. And so we're going to touch on that at one point. But, you know, one of the other things I wanted to mention currently, like I said, currently rates are between 6% and six and a quarter. And also, if you're a government loan, like an FHA or a VA loan, typically those rates are another 3/8 to a half a point lower. And so in December, I helped someone purchase a home with an FHA loan. They locked their rate at 5.625 and no points. And it was just on a standard single family home. So, the one thing that I think is a little odd that hasn't really been discussed a lot in the media, in my opinion, is that rates have improved from 7 to 6. So I mean, it's almost a whole point improvement. And I really don't see the media talking about it that much. And I've already refinanced a few clients that had a primary home rate that was right at 7%, or I'm in the process of it. So if you
Thirty
have a rate
percent
at
of all,
seven,
yeah, it's worth noting there were no refinances in the industry, and now the industry is about a 30% refinance rate, purely due to lower rates.
yeah.
Yep,
So
which is
the
good for the consumer.
Exactly. And so rates are already lower. So you can almost say, is it a good time to buy compared to 2025 now in 2026? I mean, rates are, a whole point lower, which is about $200 a payment lower. So that's nice for the consumer. And if you're doing one of the FHA or VA or the government loans, your rate's closer to 5.5%. So
Yep.
I know it's the
But
headlines
we
aren't
should note
saying
when we
five and
talk
a
about
half.
yeah when we talk about the amount of payment lower by $200, that's a certain loan amount. The bigger the loan, the bigger the decrease in the payment. On $1 million
Yeah,
loan, the payment savings would be
like
closer
five
to
or six hundred
maybe to
bucks.
a lot double triple
Yeah,
what
I
you
just
just
did the
mentioned.
math. I
Right.
did the math on $500,000 as a loan amount, and that was
Right.
$287 lower a
Yeah, I just
payment.
think it's important to have that in there. Yep.
Yeah. So
So let's
so that's
let's
one.
let's hit on our specifics. We basically have one, two, three, four, five, six. We have seven specific things that we want to say are going to our quote predictions for 2026. So do you want to meet the list? First is rates. So we're
Yeah.
talking about rates now. So I think Alex and I are under pretty much the same agreement. We both feel like, I think you agree with me, that rates will be about 5.5%.
That's correct. Yep. We
Yeah.
both agree there. I don't
So
think we're going to get under
it's
five
not
and a
as
half.
low as we'd like for them to be, but it's also an improvement. And so obviously we're hoping for this. We want to see lower rates. I think predicting rates is one of the most impossible things to do. When we were in low rate environments from the financial crisis in '08, really all the way up to COVID starting, everybody always said, "Oh, rates are going to go up this year. The rates are going," and they never went up, and we always stayed really, really busy with both refinances and purchases. And so anyway, we want it to be lower. There's no guarantee. I would also say, don't wait to refinance your house. If you're saving, $300 to $400 a month, you should do it now, regardless of what you think it's going to be in the future, because
Absolutely.
we could be wrong.
Yeah, of course, definitely can happen.
So our next one was that we were going to talk about specifically was, what do we think is going to happen with the Federal Reserve in regards to how many times they are going to cut the discount rate?
Yeah.
So the discount rate currently is at 4 to 4.25, and the Federal Reserve traditionally only changes that rate every time they meet, and they meet every 6 weeks, which means they meet roughly 8 times a year, and they don't do it at every meeting. But we are in a cycle where they've been cutting, and the cycle is probably not ended yet for them cutting. But I do see more cuts in 2026. We have to believe that if we think rates are going to be lower, that the Fed's going to cut the discount rate. And I see it as 3 cuts. That will take the Fed funds rate to 3.25 to 3.5. And they're all 25 basis point cuts. So another 3/4 lower Fed funds rate. How do you see it, Alex?
Well, I think before I talk about what I think the cut is, I think what the amount how many times they're going to cut. I think about a little bit some of the indicators they're going to be looking at, and why I think, and also why I think mortgage rates are going to improve from roughly 6% today to 5.5%. And I think one of those numbers, and it's one of your favorite indicators, is the unemployment rate, or how many the jobs report, right? And so I think, the unemployment rate went from around 4.1 to 4.2 roughly in 2025 to ending at 4.6. And I think that unemployment rate is going to keep going up. I think that's one of the reasons we're going to get rates to fall. Now, there's also some articles out there about GDP growth and how that's, been a positive number the past few days or few weeks. And I still think that even though there may be good signs for GDP growth, I still think the unemployment rate is going to go higher. And so,
this be really, I disadvantage having Google while you're talking. I Googled the unemployment rate. It's actually 4.6. It's up more than
4.6 currently.
Yeah, that's, and it was, in the lower 4s, obviously not quite. Yeah, it's up from a measurement standpoint. It's up.
It's up quite a bit. It's quite significant. And so I think it's going to get to 5. I think it's going to get to 5.
And the Federal Reserve has 2 mandates. One is full employment, and 2 is inflation.
Yes.
They haven't always had 2 mandates. Some people think they should only have 1 mandate, and that's inflation. But they currently have 2 mandates. It's not changing anytime soon. And employment is just as equally weighted as inflation. And employment is going up. We're not going to create as many jobs as we have in the past because of the crackdown on immigration. You don't have these immigrants coming into the country. You're not going to have these large numbers each month going up. So the employment rate, honestly, just naturally is probably going to go up. Right. They're not going to be the numbers that created.
Which is part of my thesis for the lower rates. And then 5.5. And then to answer the question, how many rate cuts, I did write my newsletter, just to clarify, before saying this and before sending it to Drew. And my number was also 3 cuts. I think there's going to be 3 cuts next year. But I don't think I really am not a huge believer that the 3 cuts are coming right out the gate. Like, I don't really
No,
think there's going
I
to be
don't
a
agree
cut
either.
in
Yeah,
February or
there's
March.
three cuts at some point. I don't know when.
I think it's going to be. I think you're not going to see that 5.5% rate till Q3, which
Yep,
is sometime
I
around
agree.
July,
It ends at
September.
the end of the year. We'll see them 5.5.
Yeah,
I see mortgage rates really not moving a lot in the first
yeah,
3 months. Maybe so, again, I'm sort of hitting more closer to June that I think rates really start improving.
yeah.
But I do think we can end the year hopefully on a good note with rates at 5.5. So
Yeah.
um,
So to answer your question again, so we did rates first for prediction, so 5.5% or 5% for a government loan, and then for the number of cuts for the Fed due to the unemployment. I'm not really making a comment about inflation, but mainly due to unemployment rate. I think we're going to have 3 cuts like you do. So then
right,
after that, we have the 10-year, right, Dan?
the 10-year Treasury yield. So we like to talk about the 10-year Treasury yield because it's uh, a debt instrument that's traded every day, every second while the markets are open, and it can go up or down just like a stock. And so it's the most actively traded instrument that tells us the direction of mortgage rates. And so the 10-year Treasury, traditionally, we have to believe it's going lower if we think rates are going to go lower. Um, it currently is, I don't know what it is actually today, but I can tell you what it
Here,
is
let's look at it. Yeah,
today.
it was 4.1 something when I checked the other because it was going up
It
actually.
is it's 4.18.
Yeah.
And so it's been all over the place, but from some standpoint of where it's been over the past 6 months, it's been as low as 3.95. So my prediction is it ends at 3.5. Is yours the same?
I think you're too low. So Drew's is 3.5. I think it's going to be uh, Alex's is 3.6 to 3.7. And in 2024, it was down to 3.8, and rates were just a hair lower than they are today. So
Yep.
I think 3.8's, like, given the predictions that we just made are going to come true, is like in the bag. I think 3.8's in the bag, but the 10-year has to the 10-year to move down to 3.5. It just takes a lot of momentum. I
Okay.
mean,
So
big swings are only like 0.04,
the,
like it's,
the thing that's wrong in your math is that you think rates are 5.5 and
I can see your point
and
here.
you've got a higher 10-year Treasury, and the spread between the Treasury and the mortgage rates is 2%. So I'm basically saying 2% below the 5.5% 30-year fixed rate. So
But it doesn't
that's
always match. It doesn't
it
always
doesn't
match.
always match. It can be less and it can be more. But somebody's
So
making too much money if it's more than 2%.
so if it's 3.6, for example, what Drew's saying is 3.6 plus 2
Will be yeah,
equals 5.6%
yeah,
in a
yeah,
rate.
right,
That's what
right,
Drew's saying.
yeah.
It's an
So
interesting
that's the
idea.
only reason I came to that conclusion. Yeah, I'm just trying to give Alex a hard time about why he's wrong.
Yes.
So because we
We
can't
know.
agree on everything. All right,
Yeah.
so the next one is
The Fed chair nominee, right?
yeah, who's going to be the next Fed nominee? So Trump does legitimately get to. He's not removing the Fed governor. He talks about all that crazy stuff, but he's not removing because his term expires in May, and he's going to announce who the Fed Reserve chairman might be in probably January,
Yep.
so that he can sort of start influencing. Trump likes to influence everything. Think early, and so the choices are basically these people Alex is showing you here: Kevin Hassett, um, Chris Waller, and Kevin Warsh, and Scott Bassett, maybe, who is currently the head of. Is he Treasury or Commerce? I can't remember what his role is.
He's head of Treasury.
He's Treasury Secretary.
Treasury.
So, Alex, who do you think they picked?
I think they're
Why?
going to
Why do you
pick.
want them to pick that person?
Well, I don't really think it matters too much why, but I really think, yeah, because I really think both Kevins are probably what's going to happen. One of
Yeah,
those two. So I think
I
it's
do.
really a
I agree with
50-50
that. Yep.
shot. And I just think he's going to pick the younger person, really. That's just my opinion. I know he likes youth.
I do think Trump likes younger people. This guy has
Yeah.
experience. He's been on the Fed before. He's currently
Yeah,
not
that's
on
the other
Fed.
that's the other thing. He's been on the Fed before. He's been on
Right.
the board
He's
before.
pretty
So
outspoken. He likes outspoken people. He's critical of some of the policies of the Fed having too much of a balance sheet, which I like to reduce the balance sheet. There was a great article in Barron's. If you text me, I'll send it to anybody who wants it because I have a subscription to Barron's about this guy, and I thought it was really positive. I don't like Kevin Hassett as much. He's older. He's 63. The other guy, Walsh, who we like, is 55, or is our pick. Scott Bissett would be a great choice. I would be more ecstatic with Scott Bissett, honestly, than anybody. But I don't think that Trump really wants Bissett out of the Treasury area.
yeah,
He's too much an advisor and speaker for the administration. So
I agree.
that's our chairman pick for 2025. Okay. Next things are not mortgage related. We thought we'd do some fun sort of, what you would call these things that are just happen every year that are people follow, like who's going to win the Super Bowl in February.
Super Bowl guess.
Okay. I've always had this actually on my guests when I did this for my newsletter. And who do you think is going to win and why, Alex? Because you're such a big football fan.
Yeah, for those who know me, I don't follow sports super heavily.
Yeah.
Water sports mainly.
This is how closely Alex follows sports. Before we got on the call, we talked about this, and Alex said, I said the Kansas City Chiefs are not going to be in it. And he said, doesn't Taylor Swift date the quarterback? I said, no, she dates Kelsey, and he's the receiver for Mahomes.
I was close. It was the right team. It was the right team, you know?
So, anyway.
But
obviously
my guess is the Eagles. My guess is the Eagles. I think they're going to win it again.
Safe bet. They won it
History
last year. They have a good team. They're certainly a strong team. And I think he might be right. They might get to the Super Bowl. I hope they do, really, because I think they're a good team. There are other good teams on that side, too. I think that side's really harder to choose. On the other side, where you have the Bills, the Patriots, the Broncos, those are the three top record teams on the other side that could face the Eagles. You also have the Steelers, the Ravens, potentially one of those two teams is going to get in. And I think the Chargers are going to get on the other side. I like the Bills to be one this year. My cousin has been a Bills fan for 40 years. I was always a Cowboys fan. I'm not really a Cowboys fan anymore. But the Bills, I think, are his year. They have the most experienced team. They've been in this arena before and almost made it. And they obviously want to and deserve, honestly, in my opinion, not to just get in it, but to win the whole thing. And I think there's some other great teams on the AFC side with the Patriots, which that's my team right this minute because of Drake May and being a big Carolina fan. And he went to Carolina. And I think he's great, but he's really a two-year quarterback. And the guy from the Bills is just too much. And the same thing's true with Bo Nix at Denver. Great team. They're having a good final year. Two best teams outside of the Bills in that side. They have better records than the Bills. But the bottom line is experience matters in playoffs, and the Bills win it and go on to the Super Bowl and hopefully win the whole thing. Another sports thing we're going to choose. Who's going to win the
World Cup,
which is a big deal. It's in the United States. I think a lot of people do follow it that read us. Soccer is big on the beach. And for those who don't know it, Alex played at soccer at First Flight. When his brother played soccer at First Flight, the First Flight soccer team has won the state championship 2 or 3 times under boys and also 2 or 3 times under the girls. We are a reigning soccer powerhouse in the Eastern North Carolina, in the state of North Carolina. So, and often the pre-high school rankings have us ranked as 1 or 2 in the state. So, a lot of people follow soccer out here. And I'll go first here. I was born in England, so it tells you I'm going to pick the Brits, England to win it. I just watched the Netflix series called Turn, Turn. It's about turning spies in favor of Washington and the Brits, of course, trying to fight us. So I've been following some British history lately. It's a 4-season series. I hate series. This is very historical and stuff, and I like history and stuff. So it's the first series I probably watched in 3 or 4 years in the course of a month. It took me to watch four of them. I'd recommend it's the 250th anniversary this year coming up. If you want to watch something that's interesting about the history of the United States and the battle in the Revolutionary War, get to learn George Washington, Benedict Arnold's traitorism to the United States, and all the spies. Everything it's a good series. That's my pick. England.
Yep. And then my pick is, I think either it's going to be Brazil or Argentina, but I'm going to go with Brazil. Was fortunate to study abroad in both places. And I just got a hunch that Brazil's gonna do it.
They always have
that's my call.
Team. I think they're both two good picks, and they're both in the predicting markets of teams that could win. England went to the finals last year and lost it, or last time and lost it. So
yeah, well, the other thing I was going to mention that came back to me is soccer is a one that there's so much like variability that could happen, like last minute, like so many goals are scored in the last.
Right.
Yeah, and so that one's just a shot in the dark. But anyways, I think that pretty much wraps up. I think we're at 30 minutes, so I hope everyone enjoyed our predictions. Feel free to email us back if you're getting us by email to let us know what your predictions are.
Email us your predictions. If we get enough, say 10 people to send us back their predictions, Alex will list them in the newsletter. You can just email us back your list of where you think rates are going to be, how many Fed cuts, who's going to be the Fed chairman, where you think the 10-year Treasury is going to be, who is going to win the Super Bowl, who's going to win the World Cup. Just tell us those things, and we'll put those together, and we'll tell you who wins. If you're better than us, you're right on there's 7 things there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 things there. Whoever gets the most right gets to go to lunch with Alex and I at the restaurant they're choosing, or dinner, and we'll take you out for lunch or dinner.
But you can see Drew's competitive gene there. He loved to make a competition.
All right.
Lots of Christmas and holiday things that were competitive this year. We had some good competition.
All right.
Anyways,
good. Thanks
we'll go on next week. Thanks.
Y'all have a good year. Let's have a good one.